Welcome back to another episode of Rob and Avis Ramble, where we ramble about stuff.
Yeah.
It's been a couple days. We went longer without rambling than I'd like to. We've just been busy. Been busy around here. We're doing a lot of stuff.
We're getting ready to travel. How are you going to figure that one out? We didn't figure that out yet.
We didn't figure that out. I know. We took that trip we've been home about 3 weeks? Something like that.
I've lost track of time.
Yeah. And we were gone for a month-ish, and we didn't ramble when we were gone. Yeah, we got to figure that out.
Well, we rambled. We just didn't record.
We just didn't record. Yeah, that's right. We did lots of rambling. We'll try to figure that out when we're on the road. I don't know if we'll get any more rambling done but before we leave town, because we're leaving town in a couple of days, so we'll see what happens. So this might be the last one from the official Ramble studio here, and maybe we'll get some on the road, or maybe we'll get one more from the official Ramble studio here before we hit the road for another several weeks to maybe a month. We got a lot going on, a lot of travel this summer.
That's the beauty of Ramble. You just never know.
Just don't know what's going to happen. Mm-mm. Yeah. And yeah. All right. Well, I guess let's jump right into it.
Yeah.
I certainly, you didn't bring a topic.
No.
Yeah. You don't bring topics.
This is not my department.
Okay. All right. So I got a topic. So there's this Gia. Is G-I-A? Am I saying that right? Would you say Gia?
I would say Gia.
Okay. Gia Macool.
Macool.
Okay. Which is like, I don't know if that's a real name or a stage name, but
wasn't there a Macool in a movie?
Maybe.
I feel like that is a movie character name, but it could really be her name. It's a cool name regardless.
It's a cool name. Yeah. It's a good name. I like it.
Yeah.
So, she's kind of she gives a lot of relationship advice, and from what I've gathered, her and her husband, I think they've been married 20 years, I believe is what I've heard her say.
Okay.
And so I don't know if she's just I don't really know what her background is. So I just see her post on Twitter, X. So I don't really know a lot, but I know she gives a lot of relationship advice. So I don't know if she's actually a therapist, or I don't know what she does, but
okay.
But it's one of the things she talks about relationships. So so they've been married I guess about a decade less than us. I don't know how long they were together before that. But let's just say there's roughly a decade difference of time between us. But
are they younger than us then?
Yeah, I think younger.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, the scene has been set.
Yeah. I think they've been together 20, we've been together 30. So I'm just saying about a
okay,
roughly a decade, somewhere in there. So she said something a day or two ago that I'm going to read to you, because I think this is something that will hit close with us, something that I would say that we're probably going to definitely agree with, but I thought we could kick it around a little bit and maybe put a little bit of a spin on it.
Okay.
So here's what she said: a woman with genuine desire will go the extra mile to please her man, hitting the gym, keeping her body tight, wearing what he prefers. She'll break the rules for what she perceives as desirable. If she tells you, I like dad bods, it's just a sign she's lazy and prefers relationship that lets her stay comfortable.
Okay, read that again.
Okay. A woman with genuine desire will go the extra mile to please her man. Mm-hmm. Hitting the gym, keeping her body tight, wearing what he prefers.
Right.
She'll break the rules. So she's basically saying a woman with genuine desire will go those extra miles. She'll do the things, right?
Yeah.
But she'll break those rules that she has, I believe is what she's saying here. And she'll tell you that she likes dad bods or something because it's just a sign that she's just lazy and prefers a relationship that lets her stay comfortable. If that makes sense.
I'm trying to process that. She'll say she likes dad bods because she wants to be lazy?
So I don't think she's not speaking about herself. She's speaking about, I think, just women in general. So she's saying that a woman, maybe to state it a little bit different, I think what she's saying is a woman. So think about a woman who's dating.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know she's not talking about herself, but what I'm confused about is she's breaking the rules by letting her man be lazy, or she's being lazy by breaking the rules?
I think what she's saying is, so a woman who's genuinely desires her man is going to do the things that are going to keep that man interested in her.
Yes.
Right.
I'm tracking that.
Okay. But then she's saying at times a woman will break those rules. She won't follow that prescription, if you will,
Okay.
and and say that she likes certain traits about a man that she doesn't actually like, but she'll say that she likes them because it lets her stay comfortable, right? So instead of having to hit the gym and put in the work.
Two different women. That was I thought it was the same woman talking about her body and then also talking about the man's body, but we're talking about two different women. One is fit and goes the extra mile, and the other one is lazy and therefore says she likes dad bods.
I think that's what she's getting at.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a long day. I wasn't processing that information.
Or unless you're like some kind of like one of these like Instagram models or something that is like, oh, I like dad bods because they like the clicks, right? And they're like trying to get men interested in them, but that's not actually the case, right? They're just like, yeah, but that's a different scenario, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to understand things tonight, apparently.
Yeah. So, I thought that was something you and I can kind of connect with. I mean, this kind of goes back to what we keep saying over and over again about having the hard discussions, right? And this is one of those kind of like hard discussion things, one of those hard discussion topics that a couple might get into, where, yeah, I mean, there are, a woman who is desiring her man is going to have, she's going to do the things, right? She's going to do the things to keep her man attracted. But the man also, he may expect those things of the woman.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talk about that. And so I think,
well, I think you have to be free to express your desires. I mean, I've been open in saying dating is the precursor to marriage, right? Like that's where you figure out if your mate is, or if the person that you're dating is a potential mate by the way that they keep themselves and things like that. Like, are you compatible? But then after you get married, you still need to be able to express your desires.
yes.
And I think that's basically what we're talking about here is the man might have those desires of his woman.
Yeah. And yes, and it's appropriate.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
Yeah, but but the woman would also it shouldn't just be like a one way, like the man desires that. The woman, if I think that's what the post was getting at, is if she genuinely desires the man, then she's not gonna have a problem with that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But if the man comes to her and says, oh, yeah, like I want you to, get in the gym more, right? Focus more on what you're eating, like do all the like the beauty things, all the kind of like visually attractive things. But maybe she says back to him like, or says like maybe not encouraging him also to kind of try to keep himself up, right? Because maybe she doesn't want to do those things. She just wants to settle into laziness.
Yeah.
And, I think we've seen some relationships like that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think if we were being honest, I mean, even like our relationship over the span of time is probably at times,
Yeah, absolutely.
been on the border of that.
I mean, it's hard to it's hard to stay disciplined to always like
For 30 plus years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not I don't know that we've ever been lazy. We've just chosen times in life to have more fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So something, I'll just go ahead and throw it out there. So like, I mean, I think you've done, you've always done a really good job at that, right? You've always tried to stay fit. You've always tried to do those things. Try to do the things that make you visually appealing for me, right?
Yeah. I put effort in, but it's not always easy.
It's not always easy, right? But and at one point, when you turned 40, you I know all that whole decade ago, you kind of took it up a level and you started competing in bodybuilding and doing bikini competitions and
yes,
those things, right? And so that was great. Like I liked that. Like I liked the body that it produced and it was visually appealing. But I think to the point that you're making, it's very hard to stay there. And it was very like not fun, right? It was like, it was very strict. It was like like what we're doing right now, like we're traveling all the time, right? Like
Yeah.
we're home for a couple weeks, we leave for a couple weeks. You know, that is a little bit hard to maintain, like
Mm-hmm.
eating like very strictly, being in the gym very strictly. You know, we try to do things when we're out. We're hiking, we're biking, we're trying, you know, we're not just out there eating like pigs, right?
Yeah. It's a different
But
discipline
it's
though.
right. But the point being, you know, but if you were gonna continue to kind of do that competing thing, and it's like, no, it has to be a lot stricter. Like you have to
Yeah.
be in the gym. You have to be like very strict with your food. You have to be the thing. And it wasn't like, while the outcome or
The visual
the
appeal.
visual appeal was great, the
Yeah.
lifestyle was difficult.
Right. And it comes with, aside from the challenges, it comes from the hormone shifts of causing a body to be so low fat and lack of sleep. And I was less pleasant,
A little
if
bit
I do say
at
so
times. A little bit
myself.
at times.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of like, it goes hand in hand. Like you can't get that staged lean look without disrupting the natural happiness of the body, because it affects the hormones and, you know.
Yeah. But I think the point we're getting at is, it's like somewhere in there there's a balance,
Yeah.
right? There is a
Yeah.
balance. There's a balance between like you're hitting it hard and you're hitting the gym and you're doing the food and you're doing all the things. But if it becomes such a chore that like your other areas of your life are suffering, you're like, hey, can we go to the movies? Like, let's go to the movies and have some popcorn. And you're like,
Yeah.
no, I can't do that. You know,
Yeah.
like I can't do that, right?
Yeah. I
Like
was
then
sneaking in rice cakes.
you were sneaking in rice cakes. Well, yes, when we go to the movies.
Yeah.
Right. 'Cause,
I
yeah,
mean,
'cause
I
you're
wasn't
being
eating
very
out.
strict.
If we would go to a restaurant, I would take my own food and order a plain salad and put my food on. It was
Yeah.
just, it's not romantic. It's not fun.
Right. So
Yeah.
so that's kind of the thing, right? So where's the balance?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do find traveling is hard. It's the hardest. Like the way that we travel now is definitely makes it harder. Like it's a lot harder.
Yeah. To stay consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I sometimes desire just to be home and to join the gym again and like find a good gym partner and just go to the gym for 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
So
I find that longing in me currently.
right. Not that you don't go to the gym when we're home, but we have a pretty nice home gym
Yeah,
here that
but
you work out in. But you're saying like at times you're like, man, it'd be nice just to get back to the gym, find that gym partner and like get back into it like I used to be into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the gym offers machines that we don't have at home that specifically are they build a nicer body.
Yeah.
As from my perspective, for a woman, anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my opinion, but
right.
the gym has specific equipment that makes it a lot easier.
But then the practicality of that's not really the lifestyle we have, right? So you're gonna
Right.
join the gym, you're gonna spin up that gym partner for like 2 or 3 weeks,
Right.
and then we're leaving again,
Right.
right? For 2 or 3 weeks.
Well,
or
that's
a
what I
month
say.
or whatever
I
it is.
long for that. Like, I almost find myself longing for that 6 months of I'm just going to stay home and dial it in for 6 months, because it is so much harder to maintain the consistency. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So, not that I'm unhappy. I just am always like, there's areas to be improved. And it's really hard when you travel a lot.
It is, yeah. And,
Yeah.
in fighting age, I mean, I think that's like another kind of, I think that was kind of like the fork I wanted to go down on this topic, which is, I mean, it's certainly not, I mean, there are people out there that are very fit at 50, 60, 70, right? There's also
Yeah.
a lot of hormone supplementation that some people are doing that neither you or I are doing, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't really think I want to go down that road. I know that's like a whole, like people talk about it and it's like some people are like, oh yeah, don't do it. Like a lot of side effects. And other people are like, no, it's great. Greatest thing since sliced bread. But you and I are choosing to kind of as naturally as possible by, eating well and, trying to get plenty of sleep and like all those things and kind of keep our necessary hormones for our bodies, is kind of in check as possible naturally.
Yeah.
So will that ever change? I don't know, but I don't. It's right now. It's not something we're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've been doing a lot of reading on it, and the hormones of today are different than the hormones of like when our parents were going through this age. So I'm not like the door is shut. I'm more like you, like it's not for me now, but a lot of the research says like you have to do it early, but I'm not, we're not adopters of medicine.
Yeah, I pretty much got to be dying before I go to the doctor, like literally.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of research out there that supports that it is good for you, but I just don't know if I believe it.
Right. Well, that's the reality of the world we live in these days. Is like you almost never know what's true, right?
Yeah.
Everything's so convoluted. It's very hard to know what's true.
Yeah.
But I think the where I was going with that is that just saying that as you get older, it's just a reality that it's harder and harder to keep up with. Like I think the amount of work that you have to put in at 30 years old to kind of have that ultimate ideal physique that you're going for is less than you have to put in when you get older, right? It's
I mean, that's one of my hobbies is reading about fitness and stuff like that. So I think they want to tell you that it's harder, but I mean, and it's different for men and women, but I think that for women it's different. It's not necessarily harder, but what you did in your 30s no longer works in your 50s. So then what you learned, like all these years you studied and you found in the gym and it was working great. And now all of a sudden things are starting to shift and it's unpredictable. Well, so those things no longer work anymore. So you have to change what you're doing and it doesn't make sense to your mind because that's not what used to work and it's different.
Yeah. Well, I think what I meant by that was maybe I remember when I was in my 30s and, I could be eating on a plan and, kind of dialing it in and then maybe I just go completely off the rails for 3 days and recovering from going off the rails for 3 days. Yeah. Just stuffing the donuts and whatever the stuff is I wanted. Right. But but then recovering from that comes quicker versus I feel like at this age, you can't really if you go on a 3-day donut bender, little harder to kind of bounce back from that. Right. And I think that's what I mean. It's just, maybe it's like you said, it's just different, right? It's it's just different.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, I've spent hours and hours the last months reading about it. And it's
well, you've always been kind of interested in this, or at least for the last 15 years, you've been pretty interested in it.
Yeah. Especially as I approached 40, because, the knowledge that I had leading up to that was just general knowledge and things were pretty good. But then I was like, I mean, I can do this, not really being educated. What can I do being educated? And what can I do if I take that next step is kind of what led into the bodybuilding and, in the bikini class, I say bodybuilding, but you really are you're working out for a specific look.
A very nice look, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I enjoy that, but it's attainable now, but because we're getting older and the hormones are shifting, the more important hormone to pay attention to is the cortisol, which is why the sleep is important and lowering your stress. And so that HIIT cardio that you could do when you were younger, your body is just not, like you said, it's not going to recover as quickly. So it can still be done, but you have to do it the right way. You have to do the research and shift things in a way that it doesn't make sense. When I was personal training and women would come to me and they were like, I just do, 10 hours of cardio a week. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to stop doing cardio. And they would just lose their mind. It's kind of like that now. It's this shift that you have to take. What was working then it's not going to work now.
Yeah. So Where was I going with this? Now you're just like
Yeah, I'm all on
You're-
the corner questions.
you're like way over somewhere else where I wasn't going, and I forgot where I was going with it.
Well, you brought in fitness, and that is a passion I have. And
Yeah,
I've been
yeah.
reading a lot about being 50 and trying to stay fit. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think so. Where, should I think kind of back to the original post, like so, a woman who is, has genuine desire for her man is going to continue to do those things. I mean, is that a thing that's going to be able to be maintained till when?
I mean, I think, yes, I think forever it can be maintained, relatively speaking, to a person's age.
Yeah. So you're going to look the best that you can look at, 50, 60, 70, 80. I don't know how long we're going to make it. But
Yeah.
Trying,
Yeah.
and obviously just, I mean, we all age, right? We all age. So like you're going to not potentially be as fit as you were in your 30s, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the 30-year-old body is definitely different than the 60-year-old body. Again, women have, 3 hormones and they're all like all over the place all the time. And as you age, that gets more dramatic. It's like when you're coming through puberty, it's pretty dramatic. And then when you start getting older, it's pretty dramatic. So yeah, I don't think you can expect me at 60 to look like I did when I was 40. But can I look good for a 60-year-old? Yes. And will I just accept, I have menopause belly, so I'm going to get fat? Like, no, I'm not just going to accept that. And we will go down fighting if a doctor ever says that, right? Like, that's just not who we are. I mean, will our bodies change? Yes. But does that mean we have to be fat and saggy? No, I don't believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of back to the point of the post, like more like, but you're going to, I think, I don't really know where I'm going with this, but, in a long-term relationship, so we've been together 30 years, right? And like, we're still kind of like, we've always kind of, not always, we've had things to learn, right? But like for the bulk of our marriage, like, it's been a priority in terms of kind of keeping that desire, right? And I don't really see that changing, I mean,
No.
it's still, I think, going to continue to be a thing. And I think that is a key to a long-term relationship. It is one of the keys, right? You can't just get lazy.
No, but truth be told, while we do it for each other, we also do it for ourselves.
Yeah. Well, you want to be healthy and you want to.
I mean, I'm just going to say it. I want to like myself when I look in the mirror.
Yeah.
I am that vain. Like, I like to look in the mirror and like what I see.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think you should. You want to feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the whole body positive thing hit a few years ago, and I struggle with that. I mean, I think if you're comfortable in your skin when you look in the mirror, I think that's great. I don't think that's a specific size. For me, it's looks something like this. But I do think that there's that level of we should not be praising people that are obese and suffering illnesses because of obesity.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to celebrate anything that's unhealthy.
Yeah.
So,
But I don't think everybody needs to look like I do to look in the mirror and feel good about themselves. I mean, there are curvier people that still like that, and they're well within the healthy range. They're not obese, and I'm good with that. Because I realize this is my choice. It takes a lot of work. Maybe you don't want to do all that work and you're happy where you are, but I think that we should stop the line. I draw the line where you cross it and you're suffering health issues because of your poor eating habits or lack of fitness.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just a matter of practicality. I mean, if you value your life, your body is a machine, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't overload the machine.
Yeah. And it's a use it or lose it too. I mean, I feel like I don't want to just get old. I want to be vibrant and get old.
Yeah.
You know, I've said it before. My dad is, 72, I think, this year. And he's still races go-karts at 100 miles an hour. Like, I aspire to that.
Yeah, maybe not go-kart specifically.
Yeah, no, I won't race go-karts. But you know what I'm saying? Like, he still is out there and doing it. And should he be doing it every day? I don't know. Sometimes he crashes a lot. But I mean, no, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to just sit in the recliner and get old. I want to live my life as I get old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't do that if you're not in the gym, I think.
Yeah. Or some kind of like just staying active. Maybe not necessarily the gym, but you got to stay active in some way.
Yeah.
Gym helps.
Sure. I mean, I don't see myself giving up on the gym. Like when we're home, we work out in our gym. If we travel for years at a time, like I think we would get some sort of gym membership. I don't know. No?
Like one of these like nationwide gyms there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not a specific one, but maybe one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think that's why it works for us because one, we do have the hard conversations. So like sometimes I thought I was working hard in the gym and you're like getting a little sick there, don't you think? And I'm like, I probably freak out when you first say it, but then
sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
When I'm by myself and I take a good evaluation, I can be like, okay, yeah, like I could be working a little harder, but it's not like we've ever gotten like super lazy.
Yeah, no, we've enjoyed being active. Like I look forward to being active. It's not, sometimes it's a chore, right? I mean, I do like, sure, there's days you just don't feel like doing it. Right.
Yeah.
And so those are the days you go and you force yourself to do it. Sometimes you take a rest day, but like most of the time, like we enjoy doing a lot of the active stuff that we do. Right. And and always have.
Yeah.
So it's been a little easier from that point of view for whatever the thing is that flips in your head. You're like, oh, I kind of like working hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So.
By the way, it's hard to be sick because have let your body go as well. So you just have to pick your hard.
Hard to be sick because you let your body go.
Yeah, like if you're having health issues because you haven't focused on your fitness or the food that you're eating, like that's a hard life too.
Yeah, sure it is.
So
yeah,
that's what, a lot of times they'll say, like, pick your hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and kind of back to the relationship topic, like it can cause problems in a marriage, right? Like everybody's wired a little bit different. And I don't think we should, I think there is a general body type that people gravitate to if they say something's attractive, but it's not exactly the same for everybody necessarily, right? There is some leeway in there, but I think you should be striving in a healthy relationship to kind of be that ideal that you can be, because it helps to ward off, issues in your marriage, right? Like I think it's, you don't want to put your marriage in a dangerous situation. I don't even know, maybe dangerous isn't the right word, but like, don't give your spouse a reason to be unhappy. If you're not being, be the best version of you that you can be, do it willingly. And, I don't think you can ask much more than that, but if you're not doing that, then, things can maybe get a little rocky, right? Because now like, whatever, like,
yeah.
Like,
so do you think, there's a term that I heard recently, mixed weight relationships, meaning one person might be fit and the other person might be on the heavier side. When you look at them visually, they don't align.
Okay.
So do you think that the lighter person has any responsibility? Like, do you think they encourage the other person in a negative way? Like, I feel like if I was heavy and you did the grocery shopping, I mean, well, we don't have any sweets in the house now, really, but I'm just saying, like, if I was heavy and you did the grocery shopping, you would not buy me chips.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little of that too. Like, I don't know why I bring that up.
So, well, are you saying that there's maybe where it's like
Where I'm speaking outside of like food addiction or morbid obesity, just like if you're unhappy with your spouse, their body that they're presenting, but you continually buy them bad foods or you encourage them to have dessert or sugary drinks, or like, do you have responsibility in that? Are you responsible for your mate's physique?
Are you responsible for your mate's physique? Well, I think if you're, I mean, maybe this kind of goes back to the original post.
Yeah.
The Gia Macool.
My new favorite name. Macool.
Was saying, you know, if one spouse is getting lazy, they may make allowances for their other spouse, right? So, you know, what you're talking about in this like mixed, what'd you call it? Mixed weight couple. So like maybe the one couple isn't being lazy when it comes to like movement and food, but maybe they're being lazy in some other way. And so they're allowing their spouse to be lazy. And I don't know. I'm just making this up.
You're making it up.
I don't know. Like, is that...
Well, you know, I came from a home with an alcoholic mother. And when I was growing up, I was allowed to drink all the soda I wanted to drink, but we ate very healthy. And I relate that back to my mother being an alcoholic because she didn't want anybody telling her not to drink. So I then was allowed to drink anything that I wanted.
Yeah. So
but
like
I mean,
much soda as you want, even if it's not good for you.
Right. But
as much alcohol as I want is,
Right. But we ate like as healthy could be. Like I would get radishes and apples as treats. And we had like grape nuts that we didn't put sugar on. Like we ate very healthy outside of what we were drinking.
Yeah.
So it's just something I think that's on my mind. Like that's kind of codependent. Like my mother was contributing to me having sugary drinks because of how she wanted to live her lifestyle. So like, do people do that with food? I think they do.
Yeah. To their spouse.
Yeah.
Because there's some area they want to be lazy. Yeah, I think that kind of fits with what she was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's the explanation.
Yeah, it's like a codependency of sorts.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And so I mean, where is the line in a relationship? I mean, is there a line? So like if you're looking at your spouse and you're like, hey, like you need to lose X, right? Or, you know, whatever the goal is, you know, it's like, we don't get too hung up on weight, right? And it's hard to not get hung up on weight sometimes. Even you and I are guilty of that at times, but it's really a physique, right? There's a look you're going after.
Yeah.
So, you know, we often equate that to weight, but it's not. So let's just say there's like an ideal physique that you're kind of wanting out of your spouse.
Sure.
Like it's somewhere in there, there's a little bit of like room for grace, right?
Yeah, because if you want me to look like I did when I was competing in bikini competitions, are you willing to live that lifestyle with me?
Right.
Right. You can't ask me to look like that if you're not also willing to put in your side of it.
Right.
Because
which is going to mean like being very strict, you know,
right.
not having very little fun,
right.
like staying on a very strict schedule. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know. Well, that was like a thing that like when you were doing that, I mean, like I enjoyed many aspects of it, but that was not an aspect I enjoyed.
Right. I mean, I think it's unreasonable to ask your spouse to perform or to meet a certain visual requirement if you're not capable
If you're
or
not willing to
willing,
meet them there.
yes,
Yeah.
to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
said to me, you know, I want you to look like that again, I would say, okay, well then X, Y, and Z has to happen. And you're going to be like, well, X is fine, but Y, Z, and D are not. Like, that's not really conducive to our lifestyle anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that's your answer. Like, it has to be conducive to your lifestyle that you're both choosing to live.
Yeah. Well, it takes two, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's you can't. Yeah. I mean, you have to make the allowance. You know, and I don't know if I've said this before either, but I think kind of along those same lines, you know, like we've talked before about the trad wife life. I mean, that's kind of what we've lived for most of our relationship. And you know, but I like to tell men, like, you can't say you want the trad wife life if you aren't providing the tools for the trad wife life, right? That's going to
Yeah.
mean like you've got to make enough that your wife doesn't have to work, that you're able to support the family. You
Yeah.
know, if you want your wife to have the time to do all the trad wife things, right? To like keep herself up, to look a certain way. Well, that, you know, that takes funds, that takes money a lot of times, right?
Sure.
It takes time, right? You have to give her the tools. She has to have the tools to go to the gym. She has to have the, you know, all the makeups and like all the other, you know, beauty supplies and all that need to be supplied. And, you know, if so I think to your point, kind of where I'm going with that is like, it's not just a one, you can't just look at your spouse and say, hey, go make this thing happen.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
you're there to kind of help each other. And that's fine. You can look at your spouse and say, go make this happen. But then you need to say to your spouse, this is how I'm going to back you up.
Right.
Right. And this is how I'm going to enable you to make that happen.
Right.
Yeah. And if you're not doing that, that's not fair. And it's not a good relationship, right? You're just barking orders while you're going to continue to do whatever you want to do and not support your spouse. And you're ultimately setting them up for failure. So if you're going to make a request of your spouse, don't set them up for failure.
Yeah. Or if after you make that request, maybe your next statement could be, and how do I help you do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just part of the discussion. Because I mean, yeah, all different stages of life have different requirements. So women with younger children, like they need a lot more support for the gym, especially if they're also working. That's just, you know, if you're putting in 9 to 5 and then you're also taking care of kids and now you want to go to the gym for, I mean, generally speaking, at least an hour in the gym.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, that's something men who are after like this, you know, this ideal kind of white picket fence, trad wife life kind of thing. And there's a lot of men that do want that, but like, yeah, you gotta, there's stuff that has to happen, right? You cannot expect your wife to go work a 9 to 5, take care of the kids,
Take care of the house.
do all these things, right? Like that's just, it's not realistic and it's going to crash and burn. So
I remember when our kids were younger, we had a deal, you and I. If I couldn't get it all done, I could either pick that the house would look good or I would look good.
yeah.
So you could come home and if I didn't have any, like if I didn't get anything done around the house, if I just dressed myself up before you came home, like you were happy with that.
And I think when we talk about like the hard conversations, like that's one of those hard conversations that we had in our marriage at one point, right? I mean, me like being a you know, a younger husband and learning how to be a husband and, you know, learning how to, you know, all those things like, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of husbands come into marriages and like you have all these expectations, right?
Yeah.
But then like you're hit with the reality of, well, even though my wife is staying home, right? But yeah, well, hey, we got 3 kids, we got a dog, we got like, there's stuff going on, right? Like, so, you know, it's just not everything's going to happen. So then you got to have one of those hard conversations. You're like, you know, the husband might be, hey, the house isn't clean. You're not put together. Like, you're not spending the amount of time in the gym. You're not like, so you and I had one of those hard conversations, right? And, you know, the outcome of that conversation was, I was like, well, you know, prioritize getting in the gym and keeping yourself up over the house.
Right. And we've never had like a disgusting house, but
No,
when the
not by
kids
any
were
means.
little, yeah, I mean, like dishes might sit in the sink overnight, or I would
Yeah.
let laundry sit around for a couple days before maybe I got to folding it, or
When the kids were young.
yeah, little things like that. But yeah, and we had to, yeah, like we had one of those conversations, like you said, where expecting both 100% of the time just wasn't reasonable.
Yeah. So you got to make the choice.
Yeah.
Right. And if the house is more important to you than, and your wife letting her go a little bit, then do that. Right. But
Yeah.
don't ride your wife about like, hey, you're not looking your best, because there's only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
There's only so much time.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're like, oh, well, I want my wife looking her best, then, maybe
Yeah.
as the man, you need to think about something like, well, hey, do we need to hire a part-time housekeeper? Like, maybe.
Well, like even yesterday, I mean, we don't have kids in the house anymore, but I borderline almost had like a migraine. I had this really weird headache, and you just took great care of me. Like you didn't expect me to do anything. You let me do what I felt I could do, but you just like, you did all of the things. Like you did a lot yesterday. We had a lot of stuff that needed to be done.
There was a lot around here to do.
And I was just like, I'm not feeling well. And you were like, okay, I get it. Like it would be great if you could help, but I get it. So like I helped when I could, but when I couldn't, like you didn't give me a hard time about that.
Yeah. Well, and I think, this is one of those things, if your relationship is in a good place because you're more consistently in a good place, like it's not like, I know that you're doing the things. I know that you're putting the work in. I know that you're doing the things. And if you have a sick day or somebody has a sick day, that's just real life. We get sick. We're human beings. Stuff's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right. And it's easier to swallow that stuff if you're consistently, when you're not sick or you're not, having some unexpected thing happening, if you're staying in it, it's just a little easier to kind of swallow that.
Yeah.
And give grace, right? Versus if you've got, maybe you've got the relationship where you're not putting in your best when you're able to put in your best. And then when something happens that causes you not to be able to put in your best, it's just more stress because it's like, well, you're already, it's just.
Yeah.
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 So what else you got to say about that?
I mean, I think it's just our basic message. Have the hard conversations.
That's what we keep saying.
Yeah,
I know, that should be like our tagline. Have the hard conversations.
That's really the secret.
Yeah.
Is to just have a good enough relationship that you can say what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Even if you know that, like, if you say something to me, I might react with anger and tears. But if you give me what I like to call my little toddler 10 minutes, like I usually can step away and process it, and I come back more rational. Usually.
Well, always at some point you come around. It doesn't matter how much time it takes.
Right.
Yeah. Which probably depends on what your hormone levels are at any given point. Right.
And God only knows at this point.
Yeah. So anyway, so I think our basic agreement is on Gia Macool in her post. Yeah, I think we agree, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's I'm sure I probably don't agree. I don't think we agree 100% with anybody, but a lot of stuff I've seen her say, and I don't think you're following her, but maybe you should start following her.
Okay.
But I think a lot of what she has to say, and that was some good insight and truth.
I think so. Yeah. But I also think I think there's space there for people that are on the same level but don't want to put in the same amount of work. Like if you both agree, like you're at the same level, like you both want to have the same level of laziness, I think that's okay too if that works for you.
Yeah, I think
it doesn't work for us.
Yeah, it doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're generally not super lazy people.
No, and I use lazy, like I know a lot of very intelligent people who maybe aren't as athletic. So they're not lazy people.
Well,
but
they don't prioritize that over other things.
Yes.
They prioritize some, yes, I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't
I actually think there is, I know we kind of throw this word lazy around or people throw it around, but it's probably not really the truth as much. People just prioritize things differently, right?
Yes.
I don't think there's I mean, maybe I'm just living in a complete dream world, but like, I don't think there's a lot of people just sitting out there on their sofa, not doing anything, right?
Right.
But they're prioritizing other things in their life.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. I mean, if
Yeah.
that's working for your relationship and you're both prioritizing the same things, just, what I would say is the the thing that you need to be considering of is, if one of those things you're not prioritizing is your health to at least some degree, some moderate degree.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be extreme. Like maybe you're like, I don't want to spend the 2 hours a day in the gym that you're spending, or I don't want to, I like my donuts and I like my whatever, right. Once in a while. And I don't want to eat super strict. That's fine. But if you're not at least having some moderate amount of focus on it, I mean, how long are you going to make it with your spouse? Like maybe you really love your spouse, right. And you guys are together and now one of you gets to 40, 50 and you croak because you weren't keeping up on the health, right?
Yeah.
So
I just am sensitive to the women bashing women on social media, and so I just want to leave space for the people that don't want to put in the effort that I put in or prioritize the fitness level that I prioritize. That
yeah, well, and
like this is not
honestly,
the only
there's
way.
probably women out there that prioritize that far more than you.
Sure, yeah,
Right?
they're still
and they
competing.
would look at you and they'd be like, "Who is this chick? She is not fit.
Yeah.
What is she talking about?
Sure.
Like I am fit. She is not fit, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think the point being like there's degrees, right?
Yeah,
like,
there's a bell curve.
there's yeah.
I always talk about the bell curve.
You like to talk about the bell curve.
I know the
yeah.
bell curve.
But yeah. So there's degrees. So I think you just it's like be conscious about it.
Yeah, like I said, I think my line is health. Like I don't care what your body looks like if you're happy in your skin, but once it crosses that line into affecting your health, like you're now suffering from morbidity and obesity diseases.
For other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't feel that way about yourself.
No, for me, this is something close to this form in either direction is where I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just, like I said, I want to make space because I don't want to be bashing people. Like, I don't know. Women need to stop doing that. I can't take it.
Yeah. Not being supportive of each other.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a lot of that kind of going on in general right now.
I know.
Everything's heated on some level.
Yeah. I know.
You can't really have discussions without getting somebody
and I know
angry.
I have opinions, but I try to keep them to myself unless asked.
Yeah, well, that's not at all what's happening here.
I know, but we're talking about us.
Yes.
Yes, I'm not forcing my opinion onto other people.
Yeah.
Trying not to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just think we're talking about like what in our observation has worked for us and what we see kind of in our observations of others and kind of what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And what's important and,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
No.
Nothing else on your mind?
I mean, there's lots on my mind, but nothing for us to discuss now.
Yeah, we still have like days of work to do to get out of here.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, we can wrap this one up.
Okay.
Good. So.
It was a good discussion.
Yeah, good discussion. It's, I think some people, if they listen to it, will connect with it and be like, yeah, I'm with you. That makes sense. And other people might get really mad, but that's everything. I don't know.
Yeah. Again,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. It's don't get mad. Just
No, we're just two people with an opinion of each other,
sharing what our thoughts are, and yeah. So I need to say that to myself as much as too. Like, don't get mad, because I see a lot of stuff on social media sometimes that I'm just like, definitely makes me a little mad. I need to trying to work on that a little bit. To just saying like, I mean, I think maybe I'm just completely like wrong about this, but I do genuinely try to kind of listen to what people are saying and just at least hear them. But then I feel very strongly about the way that I feel about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just how can you feel that way? Like, I don't see how you can see it that way. Like,
right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
and that can sometimes be angering, because it's not really like, I wouldn't say it's like angering at the person, but it's angering at like how can you have this ideal? I don't get it.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. I think that's kind of how the rambling sort of began, right? Because then we would bring up a topic and then maybe one of us would, just for the spirit of the conversation, try to argue it from the other side and make it make sense.
Yeah, we do that sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to argue something that I actually don't agree with.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to do. And if you're really going to hear people, like you should try to understand it from their point of view.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and that's really how you kind of sharpen your own view too. Is like, you know, if you kind of want to test that what you believe is right, well, then you're going to have to test it against ideas, you know, other people have, and kind of come back to it. And like, after hearing this idea and like giving it real and honest thought, do I still feel
right
as I did?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I've changed my mind.
Yeah. Sometimes I've had my views shift.
Yeah.
At times, for sure. Just, you know.
I mean, that season when 2 of the kids were like flat earthers, though, I was like, no. This
I
is
don't
not
really know if
happening.
that's true. We 2 of our kids, only one of them.
Well, one was supporting the one.
Yeah.
Maybe not full on sold on it, but they support one another.
Well, but they were like, basically, but what had happened was like they were watching YouTube.
Yeah.
And there's people on YouTube that like, these are young, impressionable kids,
Yeah.
right? And they're like, and I know some parents would be like, you were letting your kids watch YouTube? You're horrible parents. Okay, well, they're just, that's not the whole topic we can have. But yeah, we're letting our kids watch, you know, appropriate things on YouTube that sometimes might have them, you know, watching some person, a flat earther. But
we also allow our children to challenge us and like
and
we
have
didn't
discussions.
Yes, yes, have discussions.
Yeah.
I guess more so than challenge, but yeah, we're a family of debating.
Yeah. Well, it's just, yeah. I mean, I want to let you be heard, right? And I'm gonna tell you why I feel the way I feel or why I see it the way I see it.
Yeah.
But you know, it's important that we do listen to each other, and that's a little bit of. I don't know I don't know if that's missing in society or not. I can't tell because I mean, people are speaking what's on their mind, and we're getting lots of people speaking what's on their mind. I just don't know how much listening we're due. And it's hard to measure that because even when I look at myself, I see people speaking their mind and I'm like, that is idiotic. Like, I cannot believe that you see it that way. Like, here's, you know, points 1 through 10 about like why that doesn't make any sense what you're saying. And so like, I'm hearing them, but I definitely don't agree with them. So measuring like, are people actually listening to other people or not? I don't really know how we do that. Because I do hear you, right? I hear what you're saying. I just very strongly disagree with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so our kids, one of them mainly, and then the other one maybe influenced a little bit by the other one, was like watching YouTube and watching all these flat earther stuff, and you know, so we had some good lively discussions around that, and it was fun. You know, it was like, tell me why you believe this. Well, let me tell you what this YouTuber said, and you know, tell me this. Okay, well, let's look at it from an alternate way. Let's look at what somebody else has said about that, and
that was one of those times where I was just like you cannot possibly believe this.
Well, some people believe it. A lot of adults believe it.
I know.
I mean, I've never left the planet. I only know the pictures that are shown to me. Like maybe
this is true.
Maybe I'm just completely snowed, and like maybe the Earth is flat, and you know, we're the fools for believing it's round. But I don't know.
So.
I haven't seen it with my own eyes. I've only seen pictures. Maybe they're all fake. Who knows?
This is true.
But we believe the Earth is round. If anybody's wondering, that is what I believe. And I can give you the reasons why I believe that, but. At the end of the day, I mean, I've never left the planet, so.
But like the whole rambling. So we've always kind of like done it, but sometimes it's spun up out of these weird conversations that we find, and you might argue it both ways just to see both sides, or research it, or read a book, maybe just for that extra information.
Talk about some outlandish stuff sometimes.
Yeah,
it's fun to talk about outlandish stuff.
Yeah,
and try to, you know, just. Argue for the outlandish. Why not?
Well, I like my title, Queen of the Corner Questions.
Queen of the Queen. Yeah, that's a title I gave you.
Yeah.
Because you like to ask weird questions sometimes that don't make any sense, but I still hear them out and squash them and tell you why they're stupid and wrong. But I shut that down pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. That's enough. That's enough rambling.
All right.
That's, I'm getting hungry. I think how about the carnivore pizza?
Oh, I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, you probably didn't know I was going to say that.
It's work intensive, but fine.
All right, you can make the carnivore pizza. I'll edit this thing up and put it out, and then we can eat. I can eat. I don't know what you're going to eat.
I'm done eating.
Okay, you're done eating for the day.
I mean, I'll taste a little bit. I like to have some of the plain crust of the carnivore pizza. So basically chicken, but
yeah, chicken with a little bit of cream cheese and
panko.
Pork panko in it. Yeah.
Anyways.
All right, I'm getting hungry. That's it. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next one.